So I recently watched the movie Furiosa, and after leaving the theater, I immediately wanted to talk about the movie A Boy and His Dog. Yes. So if you're not familiar with this movie, it came out in 1975 and is based on a Harlan Ellison novel of the same name written about 6 years earlier. So anyway, in this story, it takes place in an alternate timeline where the 63 JFK assassination was unsuccessful, and as a response, for reasons I don't understand, the United States didn't focus on the space race, but instead decided to focus its energy on increasing animal intelligence, telepathy, and robotics. Maybe it was that whole thing of we were inspired to get to the moon because of Kennedy's assassination, and when it never happened, we weren't inspired anymore. I don't know. But anyway, the story takes place after a nuclear war because whenever you try to increase dog intelligence, you're going to have nuclear war. I don't know. But anyway, it takes place after this nuclear war and post-apocalyptic, right? The only thing is in the movie, none of this is explained. Instead, the movie starts out with Don Johnson, who plays Vic, with a dog, Blood, and the dog is speaking to Vic telepathically. We don't understand how this is occurring. It's never explained in the movie, although it is explained in the novellas. Now, the landscape is desert. The film was shot in California, and it is a wasteland. So Vic and Blood have this symbiotic relationship where Blood will help Vic scavenge for food and women, and in return, Vic will get blood or get food for Blood. Because apparently in the process of increased intelligence, Blood has lost the ability to gather food for himself. This is true. I'm not just saying this to be funny. That's part of the story. So they have this very antagonistic relationship, yet they rely on one another. All right. So the reason I thought of this movie is because basically almost every other apocalyptic movie since then has been inspired by this movie. Not only movies, but also media. It's referenced in the Book of Eli. It's referenced in, I believe, Fallout. It's referenced in Love and Monsters. And actually, George Miller said that he was inspired, or one of his inspirations was this movie. Because remember, Mad Max, the Road Warrior, or no, actually, it's Mad Max, and the Road Warrior was the second one. Mad Max came out in 79, I believe, and I think the Road Warrior came out in 81 or 82. But George Miller has admitted that he was influenced by this movie. So there are definitely other media and movies that have been influenced by this, either directly or indirectly. So watch it. Now, the thing that I do find interesting about this movie that you do not find in other post-apocalyptic stories is the character of Vic. Now, if you look at Max Rockatansky, Rocksteady, Furiosa, and Eli from the Book of Eli, they are anti-heroes. They're characters that do the right thing, even if they do them by wrong means. Furiosa is kind of, I guess, more of a... No, she's definitely an anti-hero. I wouldn't say she's a traditional hero, but she's definitely a hero, but falls into the anti-hero category. Same thing with Max. He helps people. And once you see in the Book of Eli, you're following a hero, and is actually on a noble mission. But the thing about Vic is that he is completely amoral. Not immoral, but amoral. He lacks no morals. And in fact, the only things he's concerned with is gathering food and finding women to assault. That is the other thing that Blood helps him with. Blood helps him smell women and track them down and have sex with them. Now, it's not that he wants to simply assault, he wants to have sex. And if assaulting the women require him to do that, then that's what he'll do. But if they're willing, he's game for that as well. So with these other stories, you have people who have their behavior is still influenced by the time before the end of the world. Max was in law enforcement, and then a series of things happened to in his personal life. I'll be vague with that because if you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it. And it basically leads to him being unhinged in a manner of speaking. Furiosa is brought up in kind of a, well, it's literally an oasis, but it's separate from the the rest of the wasteland, in a land which is even an enclave of bountiful harvest. And Eli, well, you get the impression that Eli was at least an adult and cognitive and aware before I believe the nuclear explosions led to that apocalypse. Vic, in A Boy and His Dog, on the other hand, lost his parents at a young age and is a complete product of this post-apocalyptic landscape. Not particularly smart, but very resourceful. So Vic, as well as Blood, are basically kind of terrible. And when you watch this movie, there is no redemption arc. In fact, to avoid spoilers, I'll just say that the ending of the movie just confirms really how amoral they are, and that their loyalty really is just to one another. Now, in the book, this is a little bit, it's a little less ambiguous, because in the book, it's explained that their relationship is, despite it being so antagonistic, there is love there. But in the movie, it's not quite so clear. Anyway, if you've never seen this movie, you can find it online, probably from means which may not necessarily cost you that much, but you can figure that out on your own. But it's definitely a movie worth watching, and you'll see how it influenced all these other movies.